which would automatically launch in a case of emergency by a member of the crew. Life jackets situated round a boat with agreed international signs. Emergency exits are clearly marked on the windows and doors. But the bridge ahead of us now is the Waterloo Road Bridge, opened in 1945. During the construction of this bridge, they had to have mostly women working on it, because most of the men was away in the armed forces. You notice how clean the face of the bridge looks. The reason being for this, it's made of a very expensive Portland stone. When it rains, it cleans itself. As we go through the bridge, if you look up above you, you'll see how dirty it is underneath. That's where the rain don't penetrate. Now once through this bridge, if you look over to the left hand side, the large impressive building with a green dome in the centre, this is Somerset House, where all the births, deaths, marriages of this country was registered. Now they're offices for the Inland Revenue. This building used to be known as the Atcham, Matcham, Dispatcham Department. All they do now, of course, is catch 'em. But to the right hand side, you see the first grey building there with a flashing advertising board. That's our National Theatre. This building recently was voted by 10 of our leading architects as the ugliest modern building in London. Now just ahead of us to the left hand side, the white ship with a yellow funnel, this is the Wellington, once a sloop in the New Zealand Navy, was up to recently used for the Honourable Company of Master Mariners. But if you look just behind the Wellington to our left as we go by, in the embankment wall you'll see a stone archway, and that's the Temple Bar, which is the boundary line between the city of Westminster we're now leaving and the city of London we're now entering. The city of London is one of the smallest cities in the world, measuring 1 square mile. Bit of information about the tides on the River Thames. We have 2 tides every 24 hours. At the moment the tide is flooding in from the sea. The tide floods in for 5 hours, then it ebbs back out to the sea for 7 hours. We have a rise and fall of roughly 7 metres twice a day. But look ahead of us to our left, see the red building built in the Gothic style? That was the Siam College, a college for the Anglican clergy. The building just past there with a green sloping roof was the old City of London School for Boys, and a semicircular building on the corner to our left, Unilever House, and quarters for Lever Brothers, the soap detergent manufacturers. bridge ahead of us, the Blackfriars Road Bridge, opened in 1869. It is the most interesting bridge to span the River Thames. If you look either side at the stone columns, the supports of the bridge, look at the top of these supports, you'll notice they resemble the pulpits of a church. They was put there at the express wish of Queen Victoria to commemorate the Blackfriars Monastery, which once stood on the left-hand bank in the 13th century, hence the name Blackfriars. But as we go through this bridge, if you look either side of us, you'll see some red columns. That's all what's left of the old St Paul's Railway Bridge. Was designed by one of our famous engineers, Isambard Kingdom Brunel. The third bridge, the grey one, that's the Blackfriars Railway Bridge. They've actually built a new railway station which goes right the way across the bridge, and you can enter the station from either side of the river. Now, dominating the skyline to the left-hand side, the magnificent dome of St Paul's Cathedral, designed by Sir Christopher Wren. Sir Christopher Wren designed many churches in and around London, but in fact this was his masterpiece. It took 35 years to build, completed in 1710. Stands 365 feet high. This was a foot for every day of the year. Buried in the crypts of St Paul's, you had the Duke of Wellington, Lord Nelson, designer himself, Sir Christopher Wren. To our right, the large chimney stack was the old Bankside Power Station, now been converted into a gallery for modern art, part of the Tate Gallery complex. The bridge ahead of us, the new Millennium Footbridge. Now, when this opened in the year 2000, it cost £18 million. Only opened for a few days and it had to be closed. As people walked across, it swayed from side to side. As you can see, it's now reopened. Cost another £5 million to put right. Once through this bridge though, to our right, you'll see the white timber construction with the thatched roof. That's a replica of the old Globe Theatre of William Shakespeare's times. Was being financed by Sam Wanamaker. He unfortunately passed away. His daughter Zoe took over the completion. Opened in the summer of '98, now playing some of Shakespeare's plays. Now we've just got to pick a couple of people up here at Bankside Pier. Once we leave here, we'll be down to the tower and then on to Greenwich.
Doon, pwede po kayo.
Well, for the people just joined us, good afternoon, welcome aboard the Sarpedon. We do have to point out the Department of Trade industry regulations about the life-saving equipment, emergency exits on board the vessel. In the unlikely event of them being needed, there is inflatable rafts which will automatically launch in a case of emergency by a member of the crew. Life jackets situated round a boat with a green international signs. Emergency exits are clearly marked on the windows and doors. Just to remind you, downstairs there is a fully licensed bar at the back of the boat where you get beer, spirits, something a bit softer, tea, coffee, few light snacks. So the bridge ahead of us is the Southwark Road Bridge, opened in 1925. But look ahead of us to our right, dominating the skyline, the magnificent dome, the tallest office block in Western Europe, the Shard. You can now book up, visit the viewing gallery, get a magnificent view of London. But if you look carefully in the right-hand corner of this bridge, you'll see a flight of stairs leading down into the river. Now these are the Southwark Causeway stairs. There's a royal charter upon them stairs which says they must be upkept, maintained in a good state of repair at all times. It's where Sir Christopher Wren used to get aboard of a rowing boat to go across to St Paul's Cathedral. They're also nicknamed Nancy Stairs. If anyone's read Oliver Twist by Charles Dickens, that's where Bill Sykes done a lot of his courting with poor old Nancy. The bridge ahead of us is the Cannon Street Railway Bridge, but just before we go through this bridge, look to our right. You see the last building there with the red window frames? That's a very old, very famous riverside pub, the Anchor Bankside. Parts of that building's over 500 years old. Many famous people have been to that tavern. People like Dr. Johnson, Samuel Pepys, the diarist. Now if you look just ahead of us to our right, just before the building with all the scaffolding around it in the dock, you'll see a replica of Sir Francis Drake's old ship, the Golden Hind. She's open to the public, well worth a visit. But the bridge ahead of us, the New London Bridge, opened in 1973 by Her Majesty the Queen. The old London Bridge was took down stone by stone. It was shipped off to America, where it now stands in Lake Havasu, Arizona. Now as we pass the building to our right with all the scaffolding, look in the gap in the buildings, you'll see a lovely old cathedral. This is the Southwark Cathedral. It dates back to the 12th century. Now as we go through London Bridge, look over to the left hand side in the gap in the first two buildings once we're through the bridge. And as we get level, you'll see very shortly the stone column with a golden Moor fire on the top. This is the monument designed by Sir Christopher Wren to commemorate the Great Fire of London of 1666. If you laid the monument down in an easterly direction, it would reach the exact spot the Great Fire started, in a small baker's shop in Pudding Lane. The ugly looking dark glass building to our left we don't know much about. We think it might be a training headquarters for window cleaners or something like that. But it did up to recently belong to one of the major banks. And a small brown building just past there to our left, that was the old Billingsgate Fish Market. Stood a fish market on that site for nearly 1,000 years. well known for its fresh fish, porters for their foul language. New Billingsgate fish markets move further downstream on the Isle of Dogs. The large impressive building to the left hand side with a clock in the centre, that is Waterguard House, headquarters for the Customs and Excise. And if you look over to our right hand side, all along the embankment there's a complex of new buildings. There's offices, private hospital, luxury apartments, shopping centre, public houses, health clubs, you name it, they've got it. All the area to your right is known as A's Galleria, London Bridge City, all owned by one man, a member of the Kuwaiti royal family. Also to our right, the large grey warship, the HMS Belfast. She's permanently moored there, open as a museum to the public, was the largest cruiser of her type in the Royal Navy, last fired her guns in anger in the Korean War. Also one of the first warships to be fitted with radar. Now as we pass to Belfast, to our right, the modern round glass building, up to last summer was the new headquarters for the Mayor of London, the new Assembly Hall, but they moved down for some reason. But if you look over to the left hand side, the world famous Tower of London, commenced in the reign of William the Conqueror in 1078. Been a palace, a fortress, a prison, a royal mint. The last person to be imprisoned in the Tower of London was Rudolph S., Adolf Hitler's deputy. But look along the embankment wall to our left, the bricked up entry with a writing above it, entry to the Traitor's Gate. That's where the traitor of this country was rowed down river by boat from the Westminster Abbey, took them through that gateway where they awaited execution on Tower Hill. Directly ahead of us, the Twin Towers at the world famous Tower Bridge, opened in 1894, built in this Gothic style to blend in with the Tower of London. The centre bascles of the bridge are raised to allow shipping through, weigh over 1,000 tonne apiece. They used to be lifted by an hydraulic mechanism which only needed a pint of water to set them into motion, which was quite a feat of engineering. Now they worked electrically and they break down a lot more. Now for the people on the top deck taking your photos, once you've taken them, could you please take a seat? The captain's right behind you and he can't see where he's going. If you don't understand me, just carry on doing what you're doing. So as we go through Tower Bridge, we have our next stop over to our right here, Butler's Wharf Pier for the Tower. Now please check your tickets. If you've got the 1 hour cruise, the circular cruise, the Tower single oil return, this is where you leave us. If you want to return to Westminster from here, you had to get another boat back. They're every 40 minutes until 5:30. Now anyone going to Greenwich, just stay on the boat. Once we leave here, we are direct to Greenwich. Now, for people leaving us here, please stay in your seats till we're safely alongside the pier. And also for the people leaving us, this is where we conclude with a guided part of your tour. Just like to point out, the commentaries on these boats on the River Thames are done on behalf of us, the crew, to try and make your trip a bit more enjoyable. We feel it's a bit of a waste of time going on a trip on the river if no one tells you what you're looking at. We do upkeep, maintain the equipment ourselves to make these commentaries possible. If you care to show your appreciation for my efforts as a guide, you may do so as you're leaving the boat. Right at the back of the boat, that's where you leave the boat. I'll be standing by the entrance with the old metal ice bucket. But please feel under no obligation whatsoever It is voluntary on your behalf, same as giving the commentary is voluntary on our behalf. Thank you very much for your kind attention. We hope you've enjoyed your trip on the River Thames. Now please remember, if you could take a seat while the captain manoeuvres to the pier. Thank you.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, as my colleague said, can you take to a seat? We're trying to go in the pier and it is crucial I see where I'm going. If you don't take to a seat, you're going to have to leave the boat as soon as we get alongside the pier. So for the people on the top deck, please take to a seat.